What's up, Dragon Brood? So today we have something interesting. For those of you who don't know, here's a chance to get a free deck. If you go into the Arena store, you can put in code GameKnights, GameKnights, and get a free deck. It gets you, I believe it's called Avenging Angels, and it's a black-white Clerics Angels deck. And this is a kind of a thing, it seems like Wizards did this promotion because there's a big video that went out the same day from the Command Zone for their next episode of GameKnights that include the musical artist Post Malone. Some of you probably know who he is, some of you probably don't. That's okay, not really relevant. Just know that he's popular, he's won some awards, and he's probably going to draw a lot of attention to the game and definitely to the Command Zone. But Wizards decided they were going to go ahead and do a thing to kind of help promote this and push it along, so you get a free deck. Now, like all the free decks they put up, they're not necessarily great to play right out of the box. Is a weird term, I guess, when it's online, but you know what I'm saying. So a few people asked, so I decided, you know what, why don't I do a video to just do an upgrade, and we're going to make it a budget upgrade, because my logic here is that if you're the type of person who needs an upgrade to the deck, there's a good chance you don't have the rares and mythics for it, or you probably be playing something else already. So if that's the case, we need to make any of our changes stick within a budget perspective. So we're going to try to build it without putting in a ton of rares or mythics and see what we're able to do. I think we can get there, and I think it's going to be playable. So let's get into it. Let's see how we do. Coming and going. All right, so I put the code in the chat there. So if you want to get this deck, you go into the Arena store, you put in GameKnights, GameKnights, and you'll get this deck. It's called Avenging Angels, and it's a decent deck. I will say it's better than a lot of the decks you get for free, and it does have a decent number of rares and stuff in it, so not bad. However, it's not going to do much for you even in the open play queue, right? In the very least, you want to at least be somewhat competitive in the play queue, and that's what we're going to try to do here. Now, I will tell you, when we're all done, I have a version, an Orzhov, Cleric, and Angels deck that I can show y'all that's already complete. However, it does involve many more rares. So my goal here in updating this one is to at least do it with the minimum number of rares and mythics if I can, so most people can build this from the pool of cards or wild cards that they have, just to keep it within reach. Like, we're still going to try to make it as competitive as we can, but with the minimal number of rares and mythics, just to make life easier on everybody. And let me change my lighting just a quick second here, just so I'm a little better lit while I'm talking to you, because otherwise it's just going to be weird. All right, boom, there we go, and let there be light. All right. So let's start at the top here. Let's kind of go over what's in the deck. We have Expedition Healer. It's a 2-mana 2/2. Vigilance. It has lifelink as long as you control another cleric. That's fine. It's kind of what literally just like all I can say about it is that it's fine. It's not good, but it's a 2/2 for 2 and sometimes has lifelink. Luminarch Aspirant, one of the best rares you can have. This is a great inclusion here. It's unfortunate there's only one, but this card is fan-freaking-tastic. I would recommend, if you're going to spend wild cards, go ahead and spend it on Luminarch Aspirant, because you're going to play it in a lot of decks. If you play any type of white aggro anything that plays creatures with white, you're probably going to be playing Luminarch Aspirant. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend it if you haven't. And that may be one of the cards we're going to go to 4 of pretty quick on this list. Youthful Valkyrie, it's an angel, it's cheap, it flies, it gets bigger. So yeah, nothing wrong with this. We'll probably end up going extra on that. It has Cleric of Lifespawn, also very good. Every time you play another Cleric, you gain a life. And when you gain life, you put a counter on this. So these grow pretty fast. Bound in Glory, or Bound in Gold, this is okay. It's kind of like, if you're old school Magic player, it's just sort of like a supercharged pacifism for 1 more mana, which is, it's okay, but I think we can do better as far as like removal. Righteous Valkyrie, this is another good one that it's a rare, unfortunately, but it is very good for this deck. We'll see how many we want to add, because like I said, again, we kind of want to limit the number of rares and mythics we're putting into the list. So we're going to see about this. Stormheim Aspirant is neat. It makes your angels cost less. we'll see how many angels we end up with. This is going to be one of those cases where if we play a lot of angels, then we're going to want a full set of this card. If we don't play a lot of angels, then we don't want any of this card, because it's just a 3-mana 2/2 in most cases, and it's not going to do a lot for you. So the more angels we can squeeze in here, the better this card's going to be. Renegade Reaper. This one's iffy. I'm kind of on the fence on this one. Like, it mills you, which isn't necessarily good if you're still running into a lot of the rogue mill decks. So you don't necessarily want that in there in the way. But it does gain you life, and it flies, but it is 3 mana. So my guess is this is going to be one of the first cards that we cut, because it's a bit underpowered compared to other things that we can do with this list. Taborax is interesting, because it triggers on clerics, which is kind of nice. But not all your creatures are clerics. But if you do get enough counters, it does gain lifelink, and then it kind of helps your other cards, so that's pretty cool. And it's not really an angel, it's a demon, but it's a cleric, so it's a very weird card, but it might still fit in this list, so we might just still leave the one. Stornhelm Unleashed, this is just a cool late game card to have, let you make multiple angels at once if you foretell it. So it's pretty sweet. We won't probably mess with that one. And again, we probably don't want to pull out too many of the rares and mythics that they already gave us for free, because you don't get that many, right? And especially if you're on a free-to-play account or whatever, or you just don't have a lot of resources, you kind of want to take advantage of the rares you have when you're able to. Skimfar Sage, Shadow Sage. I'm not a big fan of this card. It doesn't really do much. I'm fine if this just gets cut. Skull Raid is actually reasonable as a discard spell, but I think we can do better with some of the stuff that's out there in these colors. Vengeful Reaper, also not a bad card. This may be one that we go up on, actually, if we're trying to just fill out the rest of the deck. They did give us a Furza's Retribution, which is pretty cool. Makes an angel, let your angels fight things, gives your angels double strike. So it's kind of a good late game finisher. I don't mind including this, actually, and just leaving it in the deck. Closing Statement, it's fine. A little weird, but it's fine. I don't understand, like, I mean, you can play it whenever to kill a creature or planeswalker if you spend the 5 mana, but you could play it for 3 if you do it during your end step. So it's a kind of awkward card. I think we can just go for better removal and just be better off. Because the biggest reason is a card like this is okay, but you're going to be wanting to play creatures anyway on turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. You're not necessarily going to want to leave 3 mana available. Maybe 1 or 2 mana, but 3 to 5 is not what you want to leave behind, and just not do anything else for the turn. And it's going to be a bit slow if you're talking about slowing down mono red, mono white, opposing clerics decks, you know, the Winota decks, whatever. You need to have some early 1 and 2 mana removal to allow you to keep up with those matchups. Furzia, Judge of Valor. It feels like this kind of got included in the deck just because it's an angel, because it doesn't really do much otherwise. Like, okay, if you cast your second spell for the turn, you look at your top 3 cards of your library, you put 1 into your hand, the rest in the graveyard. Like, you're milling yourself, kinda. You're getting your choice of the next couple cards, but you have to play 2 things anyway. But if you look at the deck, they filled it with a lot of things that cost like 3, 4, and 5. So, like, how often would you even be playing 2 things in a turn, right? So this is a bad inclusion. It's probably going to be one of the first cards we pull. Rampage of the Valkyries. This is actually interesting. This is one I actually don't mind, because if we're... Now, I don't know if we need 3. I might just play 2. But having it against those other aggro decks, especially if they're playing something like Blade Historian that gives a bunch of stuff double strike, this allows you to block, your stuff dies, but then their stuff dies. You know, which actually is a pretty good trade-off, all things considered. So maybe this is something we include. I think this is actually pretty cool. It'll probably stay. Valkyrie Harbinger. Okay, the part I said about keeping the rares in the deck they give us, okay, scrap that. We're probably going to cut this one. Unless it ends up just being our one of. Like, we get to the end and we have room for one, then we may still include this. Part of the reason, though, is just that it's so expensive. Like, 6 mana for a 4/5 is tough. And then you still have to gain 4 life during the turn to be able to get the free angel. Now, if you have this and you have, like, I don't know, Righteous Valkyrie out, and you play it, okay, you gain 5, and then you also get another 4/4. Like, that's pretty cool when that happens. But when you don't, it feels very, very sad. But if you get to attack with it, you're going to get to make angels every turn. So there's that. Land, it looks like they took care of us a bit too much here. We've got, what's that, 10 plains, 9 swamps is 19, 20, so we have 24. That's actually fine. I'm probably not going to touch the lands too much because, you know, Shine Shadow Snarl is a rare. We could play the Pathway, but that's obviously a rare. So we're probably going to leave the lands at like a budget setup, just so everybody can afford to build whatever they need to build here. All right, so all that being said, let's start at the top and say the ones we know for sure we don't want to play. Now, I do know we want to add a Youthful Valkyrie, and I'm going to keep a little tick mark here so I can kind of keep track of how many rares we're adding as we go along. So we're going to add, let's say 3 for Luminarch Aspirants. So we're going to go up on that. So we're going to go 3 Luminarch Aspirants to bring that to 4. Because the card's just too good not to play, y'all. It really is that good. Cleric of Lifespawn, we want to add. That's just an uncommon. No real concern there. Bounding Gold, I want to get rid of, and we'll just play actual removal cards. I don't see the point. Like, we could play it, but, like, it just, like, yeah, you can play it on some things that have activated abilities, and that's pretty cool. But, really, there's not that many. I mean, maybe you put it on, like, an Embercleave, but we could also just kill the creatures that the Embercleave is being put on. So, I'm gonna cut this. I don't think it's really what we want. I think we can add 1 Righteous. We probably need to go to at least 3 Valkyries, but for now, I'm just gonna mark it as 1, just to see if we can find room elsewhere down the line. Let's see, Renegade Reaper. I think we're gonna cut this one because I don't think this one's particularly good. Because if we at least go up on the Vengeful Reaper, you at least get Death Touch, which is pretty nice, and Haste, which is a good late game thing, especially if you keep it in Foretell and then want to attack later with it, which is pretty nice. So let's go up to 4 there. I want to cut Skull Raid and Skimfar Shadow Sage. Shadow Sage. That's such like a weird, hard word to say. We're going to get rid of Closing Statement. And I think we're going to get rid of Furja, Judge of Valor. And I think that's a good starting point to give us a room. So that opens up 6 cards. I'm fine even getting rid of the Expedition Healer because you're going to have so many other things to play on too. And all of these are better than what you're going to be playing otherwise, right? Like, Luminarch Aspirant, the Valkyrie, Cleric of Lifespawn are all better than playing. Like, you were never going to want to play Expedition Healer before these, except for in some rare instance where you just think playing it's just going to get it killed or something or whatever, then like maybe. But that could just be any creature anyway. So we're going to cut those. Now, doing a quick check, we're already at 22 creatures, which is quite a lot. So we may not need to add that many more. Like, if we get to like 26-ish, 28, that's going to be a lot of creatures. So it's okay to kind of pull away and start putting other spells in the deck. And, you know, we have a Starnheim Aspirant, so I'm kind of okay if we go up to 4 of these because we do have Cleric of Lifespawn. It'll trigger that. It does make the Harbinger cheaper if we want to leave that in the deck. So I can kind of get behind it. I can get behind it a little bit. All right. So still have 7 slots. If we wanted to, let's go with Humility. Not Humility, Humiliation. A Humility state, or wait, is it as Humility? Oh, Humiliate. Sorry, that's the card. There we go. All right. Mostly I keep Humility on the brain because I hate that card. It's an awful enchantment from back in the day. Feel free to look it up. You'll hate Magic trying to figure it out. All right, so we still need other removal cards, and I think this is where we have to make some room. This is like when you're deck building, like the tough cuts part of the deck, right? We have to have some way to deal with early creatures from the opposition, which means some things probably have to go, which might be that Valkyrie Harbinger that we've been looking at might have to go away. So I'm fine cutting one of those. I'm fine cutting the Valkyries because 2 is probably plenty. If the rest of the deck is working, then 2 should probably be fine, right? Furja's Retribution will leave because it also produces an angel, which is good. I'm kind of curious on how Taborax is going to play out here because we end up with a lot of angels, but we have a fair amount of clerics, so I don't know. I think just 1 though doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. So then let's call it 3. Let me see what we're going to go with, because I think there's a few options. that we can go with. And I think we want to play at least 2, probably Blood Chief's Thirst. Let's go with 3 of those. And we can probably just get by playing like 2 Heartless Acts. Actually, you know what? I'm willing to actually cut a Starmheim Aspirant to play another. Especially since we cut the most expensive Angel. This does reduce the cost of the others, but not a ton that's necessary. Like, and we did pretty good, really. If you look at this, we only added 4 rares so far. We added 3 Luminarch Aspirant and 1 Righteous Valkyrie. So I think comfortably, if we wanted to, we could move up on Righteous Valkyrie and not harm anything too much. I think we could be okay with. Honestly, because we cut the expensive Angels, I kind of would be okay just cutting Starnheim Aspirant, going to a max number of Valkyries, and then maybe playing another removal card. I think that's probably where you want to be. So if we cut these and we just play 2 Valkyries and another Heartless Act, like, this looks like a much nicer deck list. If I were, like, somebody pulled this up and wanted to play, I'd be like, okay, this feels better, right? Because now we ended up adding, what's that, 6 rares in total? And some uncommons, right? We really didn't do much else. We added Blood Chief's Thirst, which is uncommon, 3 Luminarch Aspirants, plus 1 Valkyrie, plus 4 Heartless Acts. We added 1 Cleric of Lifespawn, because there were 3. We added 4 Humiliates. We added 3 Righteous Valkyrie. And up 1 Vengeful Reaper. And yeah, and the rest we just trimmed. Like, not touching the lands, though it would be good if you have the lands. Obviously, play the rare lands. I think it would help this deck out quite a lot. But if you want an Angel-heavy deck, like, this actually is reasonable. I think this is something that you could play. You have enough removal cards that you can hang with the early game, right? You have some sizable creatures. You have some life gain. You have a couple of Death Touch creatures. You've got Rampage of the Valkyries, so if your opponent does something squirrely, right? You have Humiliate that can help you against, like, the Ultimatum decks. So that's a thing. So, like, I think this is pretty solid. I think this is pretty solid. Like, this is much better than where the deck started out that you got for free. You know, I think you could do this and do pretty well with it overall. Now, like I said, this being complete, and we'll save this and may even play some games with it here in a second if people just want to see it. But we do actually have a Cleric deck. So let me pull that up. That's already complete. And this is obviously going heavier on some of the rares and mythics. So we're playing Speaker of the Heavens. And honestly, I would not recommend spending the wild cards on this particular build if you don't already own them, because some of these cards will be in the rotation in like 4 months, 5 months. Like, and it's not really worth it, I think, to spend the cards at this point. At least not on stuff from like Core Set 21, like Speaker of the Heaven. But we have Selfless Savior, Speaker of the Heaven. There's those Luminarch Aspirants, Clerics of Life Bond. I did play Dire Tactics because there's enough humans that you can exile stuff, which is pretty sweet. Silverquill Silencer out of the new set, also a rare, but it's a 3/2 that lets you hit pretty hard, but then also has an upside that, you know, could deal some damage and get you extra cards. Vanishing Verse, which is another rare. It's a good one for just like exiling cards. Has to be monocolor, but still good. Elite Spellbinder, this is a great cleric. And if you have the cards, I would find a way to get this into your decks. This card is so flippin' good. This is probably the one card that's missing from the upgraded version that I would find a place to put this in for sure. Then we have Righteous Valkyrie, which we obviously are playing 4 in the other version. 2 vetoes, because if you're gaining life, it's another way to drain your opponent and try to end the game. 2 copies of Aura, so when our creatures die, we have a chance of getting creatures back, which is always good. And then Silverquill Command, which lets us get stuff back. You can give something flying, you can kill a creature. So it just does a few different things, honestly. Cool card, fits the list. And this actually played very well. Didn't have a problem playing this, even in latter games, so I was pretty happy with it. In hindsight, I probably should be playing 4 Spellbinders, so I should probably find room for that in here, maybe over one of the Silverquill commands, because the card's just that good, honestly. The card is fan-flippin-tastic. But going back to the free deck that we upgraded, if we were going to replace things, realistically, I would probably replace the Vengeful Reapers with Elite Spellbinders. That would probably be my biggest takeaway from this. If you wanted to just upgrade this and go full on, and even then you'd only be adding, what's that, 10 total rares? So yeah, if you had the wild cards or you already owned some of them and you only had to, you know, craft a couple, then maybe it's worth it, right? And these are cards that are going to be around for a little while, right? When you're talking about Luminarch Aspirant, still going to be around for a bit. Righteous Valkyrie is from Kaldheim, still going to be around for a bit. You know, Elite Spellbinder just came out in Strixhaven, still going to be around for a bit. So the cool part about this deck is nothing really is, I mean, Heartless Act, but there's a bunch of removal cards, so you don't even have to worry about that. Everything else, as we're kind of going down here, actually is going to be around for a while. So yeah, if you decide, and even on the lands, if you decide to make the Pathways or the Snarls, those are going to be around for a while. So if you have the cards, you know, or the wild cards, go for it. I think you're going to have some cards that are good for a while. I see nothing wrong with this. I think if you're going to spin the wild cards, you at least don't have to worry about stuff rotating. So there's that. Okay, sure. I mean, having Furger's Retribution is kind of a nice touch. I would like to draw a 3-mana thing, so I don't really have... Well, I guess it could be fine if we end up having to cycle or foretell this. If our opponent's just playing the stupid Tybalt's Trickery deck, because they did the quick mulligans, and that's usually a sign that they're playing Trickery. If they are, man, I hope we draw Humiliate and make their life terrible. I would love that so very, very, very much. We'll see if we get it, though. Also, thanks for everybody that's liking the stream today. Remember, if you haven't, please follow the page if you haven't done so. Okay. What are we doing here? Okay, it's not that. Oh, Speaker of the Heavens. Well. I'm going to do this. So if they play a Luminarch Aspirant here, we can still block. Not that we desperately need to, but... Then this also allows us to... Well, I was going to say, if we got the right lands, would allow us to play a creature and play Bloodchief's Thirst, but then we found one of the few creatures we could cast and still play the Bloodchief's Thirst with the lands we have available. So there's that. Alright. Maybe they're playing an upgraded version of the deck. Because if they play a 2-4... Nope, just a Vanishing Light. Gonna take down our bigger one. Makes sense. Alright, this opens up some doors here. Feel like I'm gonna go ahead and go with this. And just say, hey, if you got a sweeper, bring it. We're going for it. This also lets us tap things. Like, we could play this, pump this, tap, destroy a creature, since it has Death Touch. So that's actually a good little combo with Furger's Retribution. With it. Oh, that's perfect, honestly. Unless we just want to keep a creature. Because these have Vigilance. So we can actually attack and then kill Lurrus. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, so these all get in there. And then this will just kill Lurrus. Oh yeah, it's not even fight. It's just... Yeah, just destroys. Okay, well that's even better. And we did get a little bit unlucky not hitting certain cards. And, you know, we got cards out of order in a couple of spots. But there's nothing you can do about that. Okay, we're just going to pass. Hopefully get to kill something next turn. Ooh, we get to kill the best thing. That's nice. Killing the best thing is always nice. Hopefully they don't have another, because Heartless Act isn't as good at killing that once it gets counters on it. Okay, they didn't have one. So what do we do here? Are we looking to humiliate? I kind of want to do that first. I kind of want to play Tabrix, but I sort of assume Tabrix just going to die to shocks and stomps and whatever. We just put a version of that Is It Spells deck up on the channel yesterday. So let's see what the opponent wants to do. They're debating to hit us with something instead of just losing damage, it looks like. Which I wouldn't blame them. Yep. And generate treasure. Always awesome. Oh my. Oh no. Well, at least we can kill a Goldspan Dragon, so that's not the worst thing. Okay, we don't want to deal with 2 dragons. That could be a problem. Especially if they get a land and can play one here. If not, we're still mostly okay. At least for now. Okay, so that worked. Let's go ahead and foretell this. Substantiate is target spell or creature, so it could be their own. Man, that kind of sucks. So they can actually protect their dragon. So we have to attempt to kill it. They bounce it. Then the next turn, we attempt to kill it again. Kind of silly. But it's what we can do. And they are going to get more treasure for it. Yep. I mean, if they have another, they have another. What does have to deal with it? I mean, they only have 2 cards in hand, so I don't care that much about giving them the mana. Sure. I have 2 mana open. I'll just do the same thing. I mean, like, making us recast a spell didn't really do anything for the turn. I mean, it just meant they saved 2 damage, right? Like, that was kind of weird. Man, that Silverquill campus makes a lot of noise. I don't know what kind of animals they're keeping in the hallways of the Silverquill. Don't want to play Rampage of the Valkyries yet. We're going to go with this. See how the opponent feels about it. Go with this. See how the opponent feels about it. Get in there for 2. All right. I don't know how much mana they can spend and feel good, but okay, they got a Sea Dasher Octopus. I guess if they could bounce a Valkyrie, they can attack and get a card. That'd be reasonable. Yeah, I would definitely block. Like, if you want to get 2 for 1, I am in that business. Let me tell you. This is only when an angel gets played, not a cleric. And this happens to be a cleric and an angel. We don't really need to Rampage of the Valkyries here, I don't think. Alright, I'm going to attack with these. If Tabrix has to block, like, we'll attempt to kill the Sea Dasher Octopus. If we can't and Tabrix has to die, he just has to die. Like, I'm okay with it. We're at enough life. Opponent's at 14. We can make a 4/4 next turn. Like, I'm not too concerned. I'd be willing to give the creature up if that were the case. Spoils. Then let's just get them while their hand's empty then. So now we got 4 mana, 2 cards. We've got a whole aerial attack incoming. They have 1 card. Interesting. We only have 6 mana here. Okay, let's see. What are the odds of them having a counter? I mean, they probably have a lot of instants. We'll see what their counter is. Okay, they didn't have it. We'll just decline. We have nothing to play there. Then I think we're just going to open with Cleric of Lifespawn. And just know that it's a risk. If it dies, it dies. Well, it dies. Oh well. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. Oh, they didn't have the shock. I thought they were going to have it there. They didn't have a stomp either? Oh, my. That was the best thing possible. Oh, so now we're getting our creatures big enough. We're going to get to play Heartless Act and a Humiliate. Oh, love it. 7 dwarfs do not matter. Not blocking. I mean, if you have a Rimrock Knight or something, like, no need. I'll just take it. Oh, that's good too. That's good too. I don't know if I want to Humiliate or... Actually, well, we kind of... Okay, we get our choice here, actually. So we get to Luminarch Aspirant. And then we're going to Humiliate. So if there's like a Torbran or something crazy over there, we can at least deal with that. Oh boy, there's a Torbran and Embercleave. Like there's... Woo! Oh! There were all kinds of things about to happen to us. Let's take the Torbran. Put the counter on. Ugh. We're not blocking if they get a land next turn, right? I don't even know who gets the counter here. The Righteous Valkyrie? Maybe? If they put an Embercleave on there, we'll take 8, 9, 10, 11. But the opponent would also be tapped out. We know they have Rimrock Knight, so attacking doesn't even really do us much good there. Not with the Cleric of Life Spawn, because we just trade. And I don't really want to trade. Not gonna lie. I'm greedy like that. Okay, so we're only attacking with that. That's tough. That's tough. Alright, we're going to be prepared to take 11 if necessary. Retaliate for a bunch, and then Heartless Act whatever ends up with the Embercleave the following turn. That's what we're looking at. Hopefully gain some life. Alright. That's actually not bad. That's okay. We take 8 here if they want to attack with everything on the ground. They don't. So, not interested. We'll just take 3. That's actually the best case scenario for us. We're okay with that. And we found a black land, which works out perfectly. So now we get to gain a bit. So we basically negate that last attack they made. We'll attack for 4. Actually, if we attack for 5, we now get to 2 for their... Yeah, if they go to Rimrock Knight now, we can just Heartless Act, kill a creature. Actually, we can get... No, actually, we get a choice here, because we can kill the other 7 dwarves and make this to where this is only 4. And we kill those off, they get to keep the Rimrock Knight. Actually, I like that better. They keep Rimrock Knight, but Rimrock can't block anyway. So that's fine. Yeah, now the opponent's effectively dead next turn. I mean, they can play a giant to block on the ground, but that's it. Yep. So as it turns out, with the changes, the deck is actually reasonably playable. Now, like I pointed out earlier, if you wanted to kind of take this a step further, you probably want to replace the 4 mana angels with the elite spellbinder because it's still a cleric, and it actually has just more versatility for slowing your opponents down or stopping problematic cards. And I think that's going to help the deck a lot. And of course, if you have the appropriate lands, go ahead and play those as well. And long term, it would be cool to be able to play the little cleric that lets you make angels, but the reality there is that you do have the situation of the cards not being legal post-rotation, which is only about 4 months away. So I probably wouldn't do too much else other than adding the elite spellbinders and then playing the appropriate lands, because you can still play the pathways and the snarls, and they're not going to rotate for a while, so you don't have that to worry about. But otherwise, if you just want something fun and different, we knew at least in the play queue, you're actually able to get some wins and have some fun with it. So there you go. You got a free deck, and you got a budget upgrade. Now, for today's card spotlight, we're going to talk about Greater Auramancy. And the reason we're bringing this card up is that it kind of shows how sometimes a card can sit around at a modest value or whatever and be waiting for another card to come out, sometimes even 10, 12, 15 years apart, that actually push the value of the card up. Greater Auramancy is from Shadowmoor. I don't know why I said Charlmancy, that's weird, but from Shadowmoor. And as it turns out, there's a bunch of stuff that helps enchantment decks in Modern Horizons 2. So again, not only is Modern Horizons 2 actually great for a lot of existing decks, it actually helps a lot of other decks come to the fold, and maybe even helps boost up some commander decks and make cards like Greater Auramancy valuable. Don't forget, if you want today's base deck, you just go into the Arena store and put in the code GameKnights. And if you want this deck list, you will be able to get it down in the description below. If you don't want to download the deck, or if you simply just don't want to go through the effort of fixing up yours and you already have the cards, we can do that for you too. And don't forget to check out the rest of the description, because we have all types of links to a bunch of things, including my Facebook streams, Twitch streams, or if you want to just come follow me on Twitter, or come say hi, be friends, be thankful, be friendly in our Discord. That's the thing you can do as well, completely open for that. And finally, if you haven't, please, 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 pretty please, remember to hit the like button to help more people see this video, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell, because that'll let you be notified every time I have a video up. And that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.